Hey, good morning, everybody. Mr. Larjani here. Wanted to put together a really quick video for you to hopefully eliminate confusion that might come up during your lab today. Basically, just an extension of a lab you did for me last week, where we were calculating the speed of a ball rolling down a ramp. The setup to this lab is going to be very similar, with a couple added wrinkles to it, and then the data collection is very similar, except there's a couple added parts to that as well. And so, wanted to kind of hopefully eliminate some questions or concerns, things that have come up in physical science classes in the past. So first off, you're going to be working in groups. Okay, everyone in your group is going to need, or every group's going to need at least one Chromebook. We're going to be working in Canvas under the collaboration section, and then you'll see a link to a ball and ramp acceleration underneath the collaborations link in Canvas. That's where we're going to be collecting our data. We're also going to need to open up and launch the Vernier graphical analysis. Most of you downloaded this or saved this as an extension to your Chrome browser. If you don't remember how to access it, or if you didn't save it as an extension, if you go to the Chrome Web Store and just search Vernier graphical analysis, it should pop up right away. You can either download it or launch it depending on whether it's on your Chromebook already. And then over here on the right hand side is a look at what the data table looks like, where we're going to be collecting some data very similar to the one you used last week. Only difference is a couple extra columns. I'll explain those here in just a minute. You'll notice that there's about 4 different versions of these data tables in the document. One per group. We shouldn't have more than 4 groups. If we're doing groups of 2, 3, or maybe 4 people. Make sure you put your names of your group members up at the top, and then also the type of ball you're using, whether it's a golf ball, racquetball, tennis ball. I do recommend not using the foam balls for this activity. They have in years past just given students issues, not rolling all the way to where they need to go, things like that. So I would probably just nix the foam balls for this go around. Okay, so setup for this is pretty similar. We got those 4 areas in the classroom where we can do it. You're going to be using a wooden board for a ramp and some books of different stacked heights for your incline. Remember that the edge of that board, we wanted that small piece of tape that's going to be kind of our 0 mark, and then the other taped lines out from there are all 1 meters away. One big difference we're going to make with this setup is we're going to have our sensor right at the bottom of our board facing outward. We want that sensor to also be at line 0. That's going to help us with some data collection. Okay, so there's a nice little visual representation for you. 0 meters, 1 meters, 2 meters, and 3 meters. Okay, we also want to make sure we have a consistent starting point on our board. So here I've drawn a blue line on the board. You can draw a line with pencil on yours. They might already have a piece of tape. It really doesn't matter where on the board it is. We want it to be high enough up the board that the ball is going to get some good momentum as it rolls down. But we want to make sure we're consistently starting that ball from the same position every time and trying to eliminate as much human interference as possible, not pushing it, things like that. You also see some yellow lines here, and that's just to remind you that those sensors work in a cone shape. Now, this is not an accurate drawing, but it kind of gives you a visual image of the area that the sensor will pick up motion. So remember, if you are standing inside of this yellow cone, you are going to be affecting the sensor as it records data. Likewise, if that sensor is crooked and pointing at the tables or at the counter at one of the cabinets, okay, it's not going to be collecting the data from the ball. So we want to make sure that that sensor is in a position where that cone is going to get all of those blue lines down the middle of the floor where our ramp is, and that also it's not tilted facing the ceiling or tilted facing the floor, because it's not going to give you any good data. All right. One added wrinkle with this lab is we're going to need 2 people keeping time. I've tried it with 1 person keeping time and using the lap function on their cell phone, and it was just inconsistent. And again, we're all about trying to get consistent data and eliminating those variables. So works best with 2 people. If you need to swap between groups to keep time, help each other out. If Mr. Christensen or whomever the sub is today is willing to help keep time, that'd be fantastic. But you'll notice you're going to need somebody keeping time at the 1 meter mark and the 3 meter mark. Okay, and those 2 individuals I drew in different colors for a specific reason. I'll get to that here in just a second. So remember, as the ball rolls down the ramp, okay, they're not going to hit start on their timer until that ball reaches that 0 meter mark or crosses essentially the bottom of the ramp. That's when they'll hit start on their timer, and then as that ball rolls past their respective lines is when they'll hit stop. So for example, 1 meter is where the ball is. That's when the person in green will hit stop. That ball will continue to roll to the 3 meter line, and that's when the person in blue will hit stop. All right, so now what are we going to do with that data? So if you look at your data table in the collaborative link on Canvas, you'll notice that I've color-coded some of the columns, okay? So the first one, time at 1 meter, is in green, okay? 2 books, 4 books, 6 books. That is where the person who I've drawn here in green is going to be recording their time at. Okay, likewise, time at 3 meters here in this blue color, that is where the person standing at 3 meters, here drawn in blue, is going to be recording their data. Next column over is where we're calculating the speed of the ball by hand. Remember, our speed formula is going to be speed is equal to distance divided by time. I've already inputted the distance for you guys. Okay, 1 meter is where the 1 meter person is standing, and 3 meters is where the 3 meter person is standing. So you simply just have to take the time value, okay, divide it by the 1 to get the speed in meters per second. Now, remember the last time we did this, a lot of you divided in the wrong order, okay, and we got our numbers mixed up or backwards. So please, please, please slow down. Make sure you're putting things into your calculators in the right order. Distance goes first, so I would put 1 divided by, and then whatever the time is into the calculator, hit enter, and that'll give you your speed. All right, one extra box on here on the far right-hand side is the acceleration box. Now, this is something we worked on a little bit last week. Okay, you'll notice that there is one slight difference with our formula. So last week when we were doing practice acceleration problems, we had final speed or velocity up on top, okay, and that's still the same as it was before. Remember, our final speed is going to be that end moment in time. So in this case, our final speed is going to be the speed of the ball at 3 meters. Our initial speed is going to be that beginning moment in time. In this case, it's going to be our speed when the ball was at 1 meter. Okay, so again, final speed, speed at 3 meters, initial speed, speed at 1 meter. Now, on the bottom part of our formula, it might look slightly different than it did last week, because last week we were using the total time or the elapsed time that an object was moving. Now here, we don't have that information just given to us. We have to calculate it. So what we're trying to figure out is how much time did it take for that ball to get from the 1 meter mark to the 3 meter mark. So we got an extra step. We just have to do a little subtraction. So I've kind of underlined it in blue there. Again, you're going to do your time at 3 meters minus your time at 1 meter. That will give you the bottom part of your formula, or the total amount of time it took to get from that line to that line. Okay? Now, order of operations are important. Do the subtraction first. Do the top part. Okay? Subtract that out to get a speed. Do the bottom part. Subtract that out to get a time. And then go back and do your division in the proper order. Speed divided by time. That will give you your acceleration in meters per second squared. Remember that a negative number is a real thing, and if you get a negative number, that is telling us something very specific about what the ball is doing. Okay, so that top part of this data table above this black line, you're all calculating by hand. Now, while that's going on, here's where we need to do a better job this week, is we're also going to be collecting sensor data. Okay, and the sensor data we have to get after every single time the ball rolls down the ramp. So you're going to stack 2 books up, you're going to roll the ball down the ramp. Okay, you're going to have 2 people collecting time by hand, calculating speed and acceleration by hand. But what we're also going to do is we're going to look at the graph produced by that sensor. Okay, and we're going to look on the sensor, and we should easily be able to click on the 1 meter and 3 meter points. As long as our sensor is at the bottom of the ramp, this should be accurate. It's going to give us a sensor, the speed of the ball according to the sensor at 1 meters and 3 meters. And then again, using the same formula, we're going to find the difference in the speed and divide it by the difference in the time to determine the acceleration. Now, I haven't played around with the sensors enough to know if they're capable of calculating that for you. Feel free to try it. Okay, see if you can find a way for the sensors to calculate acceleration automatically. But the big thing here is I want you guys to compare your data by hand to the sensors, see how far you're off or see how close you are and what kind of inconsistencies there might be. And remember, we're doing this after every single trial. Okay, we need to get sensor data, whoever is in charge of the Chromebook. All right, so go slow. Make sure you guys are doing it accurately. Don't rush through this. There's no point in rushing through it. Okay, we'll take care of any questions or anything like that that we have on Thursday. In the off chance that you get done really fast and you want to try with a different ball, feel free. Might not be a bad idea to compare your data with the data of somebody else in the class and see, hey, is there any sort of relationship here between maybe the mass of a ball and its acceleration or how fast it slows down, its deceleration? Because that's going to lead us into our Newton's laws that we're going to get into closer to the end of the week. So hope you guys have a good day. Have some fun. Make sure you leave yourself some time to clean up, probably about 10 minutes before class ends. All the sensors can get put back, Chromebooks get charged, balls back in the bucket, yada, yada, yada. You guys know the routine. And I look forward to seeing you on Thursday. Have a good day. Bye.